In Stellaris, after you click Done on the Empire creation screen, you are presented with this list of options. In this video, I'm going to describe each of them. Galaxy size is self-explanatory, but larger sizes can lead to lag on lower-end computers. Complete galactic domination in the larger sizes can also get tedious. I find I have most fun on the default medium. Galaxy shape determines the layout and connections between the stars, whether they spiral or are more of a disk. I have the most fun with four-arm spirals, as it creates a pleasant variety in space geography, but do note it can't be selected on tiny or small galaxies. Number of AIs is self-explanatory. The default number, determined by the size of the galaxy, generally feels right. It is possible to completely disable AI empires with this option, though I advise against it, as the game quickly gets dull if playing without AI. Advanced AI starts represents the number of AI empires which start with a few planets instead of just one, to simulate differences in the progress of the galaxy. The early game will be more difficult as this number gets higher. Fallen empires are ancient empires that are technologically superior, but can't expand or build until they awaken in the endgame. They often end up acting as a powerful buffer between you and the things that wish you were dead. Marauders are essentially space pirates that occasionally raid empires, can be asked to raid rivals, or hired as mercenaries. Like fallen empires, they can't expand unless awakened, and are often useful buffer zones, though are more actively antagonistic. Higher numbers in tech tradition cost means technology and traditions take longer to unlock, and lower numbers means they unlock faster. If you are playing on single player, the default 1x tends to provide the best pacing. Habitable worlds determines the chance a colonizable planet will spawn in a star system. Higher numbers will create more lag on lower end computers. I recommend 1x or less, as having fewer planets allows for more personalization and attachment to each individual planet. Primitive civilizations determines the chance that pre-faster than light civilizations exist on habitable planets. They offer a unique option to diversify the species within your empire, either via force, cooperative uplifting, or more manipulative infiltration. Endgame crises are a special challenge that threaten the existence of all life in the galaxy. Crisis strength determines the, strength of the crisis, with 0 disabling them completely. You may select which crisis you want to appear, or leave it up to chance. Mid-game start year represents the first possible year that mid-game events can occur, essentially mini endgame crises to test your empire. Just because you set this date doesn't mean they will occur. The right conditions still have to be in place, and even if they are, it can trigger anytime 40-ish years after the date has passed. The endgame start year works in the same way, but for endgame crises and fallen empire awakenings. For reference, the start date is always 2200. Later dates tend to make playthroughs too time-consuming, as each in-game century takes about 12 to 20 hours depending on your computer's performance and how you play. Victory date determines when the victory screen triggers if conditions aren't met earlier and there is no active crisis. However, you can continue playing beyond this point. If you slide it to the max, it will disable timed victory altogether, which is what I usually do, as victory doesn't really mean much in Stellaris. I've had just as much fun, if not more, playing out the fall of a great empire as I have conquering the galaxy. Difficulty determines the economic and technological bonus AI empires are given in order to compensate for their lack of creativity. Cadet gives bonuses to the player, Einstein gives no bonuses to anyone, and the remaining difficulties give increasing bonuses to the AI. Scaling difficulty determines whether the AI's bonuses are applied immediately or slowly added over time until reaching their max at the endgame start date. AI aggressiveness determines how likely AI are to declare war against valid targets. Even at high aggressiveness, two empires with positive relations won't randomly declare war on each other. Empire placement has more options in multiplayer, such as whether players are close or spread out evenly. But for single player, I generally choose random over clustered, as it allows for more breathing room to expand at the beginning. Advanced neighbors determines whether advanced empires, as mentioned earlier, are allowed to generate within a certain range of the player. Hyperlane density determines how many connections generate between stars. I mostly play on 0.75, as it creates a more distinct space geography. Larger numbers make the game flatter and repetitive. Gateways are artificial structures that, when repaired, essentially act as a teleport point across the galaxy. You can teleport to any active gateway from any active gateway. Wormholes are similar, but can't be constructed and are directly tied together as pairs. I like to set both of these to either 0.5x or 0.25x, as both of these flatten the galaxy by shortening the distance required to travel. Faster travel may sound like a plus, but things like endgame crises can quickly overrun the galaxy by capturing too many wormholes or gateways. I plan to discuss gateways and wormholes more in a future video. Excluding a few origins like Doomsday, guaranteed habitable worlds forces planets of the same planet class chosen by an empire to spawn close to its homeworld. Caravaneers are wandering merchants that frequently offer you trade deals or allow you to gamble your hard-earned in-game energy credits. However, I find nothing they offer is worth it, and always turn them off just to stop their constant notifications. Xenocompatibility unlocks an ascension perk that allows for organics to have interspecies children. It is a cool concept, but it significantly clutters the species tab with half species, generates lag, and doesn't provide enough of a benefit to justify the use of an ascension perk. I always turn this setting off. Logistic growth ceiling is how large the bonus to population growth is when planets reach a sweet spot between lots of land to grow into and lots of people making babies. For example, population doesn't grow as fast when land gets unaffordable due to overcrowding. Growth required scaling is how much increasing population on an empire level slows population growth. Personally, I don't recommend changing either of these settings from their defaults. And finally, enabling Iron Man mode disables the manual save and reload features of the game, and thus forces you to live with the consequences of your actions. Iron Man mode must be on to get achievements. Thanks for watching, and if you want to see more Stellaris guides like this, the link to the playlist is in the description.